So despite knowing that Pragmata has absolutely nothing to do with Mega Man, I decided that I was going to play every Mega Man game 2 weeks before Pragmata released. Originally, I was going to be dropping a video before Pragmata released as well, but my past self vastly overestimated my editing abilities and mental state at the time that in hindsight that seems absolutely insane. But hey, that wouldn't be the first time I set the bar in outer space only to maybe reach the roof of my house. Anyway, there are currently 11 Mega Man games in the classic Mega Man catalog, and I wanted to play each and every one of them on the off chance Pragmata was secretly Mega Man 12. Spoilers, it wasn't. And to just catch myself up on the series, as I've played the original 8 before, but hadn't beaten them from what I can recall, and I had never played 9, 10, or 11. So I figured now was as good a time as any. I have a small history with Mega Man, thinking he was one of the coolest characters when I was younger, playing the Mega Man Anniversary Collection for the GameCube back in the day, and trying to draw my own robot masters occasionally when I was bored because the art style was, number 1, pretty easy to draw, and number 2, I just thought it looked super cool. When I was younger, I actually drew a picture of what I imagined a Tornado Man would look like should he ever get added to the Mega Man series. Although in Mega Man 9, there is a Tornado Man that gets added to the series, and I was disappointed that Capcom stole my idea. I mean, come on, they look exactly the same.
They're the same picture.
Since I had played these games before, I wasn't necessarily worried about the skill required to beat them, but whether or not the devs loaded these games with enough bullshit to drive me insane and hinder the challenge. I remind you, my goal was to beat these games in 2 weeks. Did I manage to do it? Well, you'll just have to watch to find out. Boy, it sure is awfully quiet in here. Mega Man 1, originally released on the NES in 1991. Mega Man 1 is probably the easiest of the Mega Man games they've released, either the easiest or the fastest, I don't really know. Let it be known that I did beat Mega Man 1 and 2 sometime in 2024, so it was a lot fresher on my mind than the next few I would have to beat. Normally when I start these games, I try to logic my way through what bosses are weakest to what, and in this case, I figured Bomb Man's weakness would be these hands, you know what I'm saying? So I pieced them up real quick. And from there, the dominoes began to fall for the Robot Masters pretty quickly. The stages in this game weren't really that difficult for me. The worst it gets is when you create situations where it's essentially impossible to dodge some of the things the enemies throw at you. The hardest stage has to be Iceman stage, and it's really not that hard except for this section. It's just the jumping section. The platforms don't really establish a pattern, so you're kind of just waiting and hoping they get close enough to the next one so you can hop over, which makes you pretty nervous to take the leap because if you fall, you're just dead. There was a point in time where the platform's movement patterns were not syncing up enough for me to ever even jump at all. Calm down! It seems kind of like a trend for Mega Man to also have these sections where these floating platforms will appear at a specific rhythm and you need to learn how to hop along them in order to proceed. The only problem with these sections is that they kind of ruin the flow because if you fall, you have to wait for the whole cycle again. It's really not that big of a deal until they do something like this. If you do something stupid, I swear to God. Fuck that life. There's no way you did that. Outside of that, Iceman as the boss does a lot of damage, but with his weakness, you don't have to worry too much. Problem was, I was too stubborn to have Iceman's weakness before I fought him. Unfortunately for me, and my sanity, the game doesn't despawn projectiles after the boss has been killed, so it resulted in me sometimes killing him, only to be smacked by a projectile right afterwards. I have this. Oh! Oh! No! After Iceman, I took on Fireman, who has probably the most memorable theme in the game, in my opinion. At least I get to listen to the awesome music. His stage is fire themed, obviously, and he has these sections where little fire pillars shoot from the floor and you have to dodge them, which I'm the best at. And then you have to time your way through this wall of fire. How? How do you... And then Fireman himself just pulls out a gun and starts blasting.
I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
The rest of the Robot Masters weren't too much of an issue considering I had enough powers at this point to figure out what their weaknesses were. Once they're taken out, I must head over to Wily's castle. This game's Wily Castle isn't too crazy. Some sections from other Robot Master levels get used in more perilous situations, which will be a trend for Wily Castles going forward. I didn't have too much trouble. Yellow Devil is the boss in the first stage. I like Yellow Devil. he's really iconic for me, and this has always been my favorite version of him to fight. There will be others that are visually maybe more interesting, but nothing I think beats the OG in terms of fighting it. The second stage is probably just as eventful as the first. Nothing too crazy. This stage has 2 robot masters that you have to fight before getting to the stage's real boss, but if you have their weakness, it should be smooth sailing. The end of the stage sees you fighting a Mega Man clone, which sort of follows your controller inputs, so you just kind of have to trick them into doing what you want, and you win. The third stage sees you going through this water section, where you wind up having to fight this bubble robot that there are apparently multiple of. This was probably the easiest boss because you can just shoot him fast enough before most of the slower early versions of him can hit you. And same as the first 3, the 4th section was pretty much smooth sailing as well. How do I... Holy... In the 4th stage, you have to fight all the robot masters again, which is a trend that the games will do for every single entry. I'm honestly not too big a fan of these sections, but I mean, it is what it is. If you have their weakness, it isn't really all that bad, but getting through them leads you to fighting Wily, who wasn't difficult either. I died a few times, but honestly, that's a given when fighting a boss for the first time, usually. Once that's done, Wily's defeated, and we're done. I ran through Mega Man 1 pretty quickly, but that's kind of a given since in this one there are only 6 robot masters to choose from, but I still enjoyed my time with it. Mega Man is an iconic game for giving players the freedom to sort of tackle the game in whatever way they wanted, seeing as you can choose what level you want to start, as opposed to the more traditional way of going through the levels in a linear fashion. But that's Mega Man 1. I'm going to rank each of them on a tier list because why not, and I've never made a tier list before. Mega Man 1 is going in the C tier. Good game, but definitely you can feel it's the first game in a series where it's yet to reach its full potential. Hell yeah, brother. What better way to hype me up than that iconic opening title screen for Mega Man 2? I think for me, this is when Mega Man gets more exciting. My brothers and I used to play the collection all the time, and I think this game was when we were really starting to think that the bosses were the coolest thing ever. The designs go from robots that are more loosely based on their names to ones that feel more like the designers were given a bit more freedom to cater the designs to be more goofy and make them feel more like supervillains than they did in 1. Like, what even was Bomb Man? Also, look at the alternate covers for this game. The games in Japan came with these covers, the ones in the US. This game also has a better soundtrack than 1. Every entry has such a catchy tune with more layers than they did initially, or at least it feels that way to me. These guys. First off, we have to select our difficulty, and of course, I have to pick difficult. This is the first time we'll see difficulty options for Mega Man. I personally feel like it was cool for them to add it, so some people who may not be as good as me can get into the games. All jokes aside, let's start. As with the last game, the first part of this was rationalizing how the weaknesses worked on each of the robot masters. In this one, it's a lot harder to figure out who would be weak to who. What could Flashman possibly be weak to? I start with Airman though. They just shoved a fan into this guy's stomach, so I was just like, he looks bullyable to me. His stage was cool too. He has these very strange platforms you have to get through, which is fair considering it's Airman we're talking about. His level does have a nice job of making you feel like you're way high up in the sky with all these clouds and sections where the clouds even cover the foreground. It's pretty cool. And I thought the moving platforms in this one were such an improvement over the last. Don't think I forgot about that Mega Man 1. Airman was easy. You just shoot him. That's all I did. I just took the damage and shot him. Mission accomplished. Next up, we end up going with Crash Man. Don't ask how I rationalized this decision. Okay, what do you think wind beats? I don't think it's blowing down any trees. And surely the wind has nothing to do with heat. I don't know about bubbles. I will say I don't know about bubbles. I feel like Bubble's gonna work on Metal Man because he'll rust. Or maybe Heat Man will work on metal because it'll melt. Or maybe Heat Man works on Woodman. That would make more sense, actually. Flash Man is not gonna flash wind. But what the heck is a crash? Do you crash into the wind? Does the wind cause crashes? Well, the crash can't crash the wind. You can't quake. What? But with Airman's power, he was washed. Having the weaknesses of the robot masters in these games just trivializes the battles, which is good for games where the fights don't really have much of a pattern to them, but bad when legitimately fighting the boss could be fun, so it sucks they just die. Flashman was next, and he was also pretty easy. I just shot him. I kinda can't believe that's working. From then on, we go to Quickman stage, which has some neat little gimmicks to it. There's a section where you... Uh-oh. Oh. Oh. Hey! No! No, no, no! Hey! Yeah. I did it. No, I messed up! Help! Oh. I wanted the life, that's the only reason I died. I want to take the time to appreciate how much better the levels got in this entry, by the way. Just look at Bubble Man stage where there's this running waterfall in the background, and it helps by being complemented by these frogs that shoot mini frogs at you. Woodman stage is this dense forest with forest animals running through. Holy shit! We also have Flashman stage, which is just... I don't know what the environment really is, but I mean, it's cool and active and alive. Just thought it'd be neat to appreciate that. From then on, it's pretty much a breeze. Clearing Wily's castle was also not too bad in this entry. It does have a banger playing in the first two sections though. And there's this neat dragon boss fight. Not much trouble, but I think the dragon's iconic. There were some sections that gave me trouble, but ultimately this felt pretty standard. I don't know if it's because I find myself pretty competent at platformers or what, but I don't usually find the levels difficult as much as they can have a little jank at times. The most egregious example of this is the boss fight in Wily Castle 3, involving these 6 cores that sit on the walls here. The thing is, it's not that the boss is hard per se, it's more so that the boss cannot be killed unless you have a specific power. Which is fine, except that power can only be used as long as you have energy for it. So you have to make sure you tackle the boss in a way where you have just enough to destroy all 6 cores. That's not the worst part though. It's that if you don't know the pattern you should take in order to do this on your first try, then what happens is you waste all your weapon energy figuring out how to kill the boss, only to die and have no energy for a second attempt because the game doesn't refill weapon energy on death. Oh, well, I'm out of crafting ability and he's almost dead too, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Who made this boss? I need to know who made this boss. It's wild they did this, but I guess that's part of the difficulty, although that's not really the kind of difficulty I like. Oh, and the boss gauntlet is back. God damn it. They're easy, but Wily actually gave me a bit of trouble this time around. His first phase is rather easy as he shoots these balls you have to maneuver around, which looks daunting at first, but as long as you know where to stand, you can do it. But I had so much trouble in this second phase where he starts bouncing the balls because, and maybe it's just me, I thought the hitbox was kind of bullshit. I could not figure out a way around them. Eventually, I found out you can just shoot Crashman's ability at him to do more damage, and I beat him by just taking the hits and out-damaging him. Afterwards, you have to fight an alien hologram that Wily is projecting, which takes absolutely no damage from anything you do except the Bubble Man ability. I had no use for this ability till now, but hey, whatever works. After that, I pursued to beat the game. Now, we gotta put it on the tier list, and I think this one goes in B tier for me. It improves on a lot of Mega Man 1 by just being more ambitious, and adding the iconic 8 robot master roster that games that come after it would continue to use. Now it's time for Mega Man 3. I'm just going to start off by saying 3 takes whatever 2 did well as far as the level design and robot masters and does even more with it. The designs start to get even more distinct and well thought out, and they play around with even more interesting ideas for who to bring in. Booting the game up, you have to wonder what their powers are going to be. They also have some bangers in this game as well. Shadow Man is my favorite. I can just remember loving this tune when my brothers and I played the Anniversary Collection when we were younger. The stages even get more distinct as time goes on, and they slowly start being thematically consistent. The most relevant example of this being Snake Man stage. But we still are just throwing random enemies in these stages sometimes. Back to the playthrough though, as the games go on, it becomes more and more fun to try and figure out who could be weak to who, because the Robot Masters become a lot goofier in terms of their powers. I believe there's a trend of me finding the goofiest looking boss and just seeing if I can take him out first. In 1, it was Bomb Man. In 2, it was Airman. In 3, it's Top Man. Next, I tried to reason that Needle Man was weak to Top Man because while Needle Man was above Top Man was actually on top and Needle Man was the bottom in the relationship. I was wrong. I then proceed to pivot to fighting Shadow Man, who I assumed to be afraid of Top Man because spinning around like a ballerina is seen as quite feminine in modern society, and Shadow Man looked the most like he'd care about his masculine image. I was right. And the last bit of sleuthing I'll show to you guys in my quest to beat Mega Man 3 was after beating Sparkman, who was probably the boss who had the most normal reasoning behind why he was weak to an element. That element being Shadow Man, because without light, there was only darkness. I was right. But after beating Sparkman, I decided that the reason why Sparkman would beat Magnet Man is that both of their powers can be a metaphor for attraction towards one another, and that Magnet was actually very much in love with Sparkman, and in turn, would not be able to handle going against his lover's power in a fight. I was right. But that was me having some stupid fun in this Mega Man game since I started. I proceeded through the rest of the bosses, no trouble at all. Okay, maybe there was a little trouble, but we make it through and... Oh. Huh? Oh. Okay, this might be like Wily's Castle in this Mega Man game. Normally, at the end of each Mega Man game, you have to go through the evil Dr. Wily's castle through a series of 4 to 5 stages until you reach him. So that must be what this is. Oh. Metal Man is here. And Quick Man and Airman. Okay, what the fuck is going on here? I have to fight all the Mega Man 2 bosses again, but also stronger? Okay, I've beaten them before, right? This won't be any... Yeah, this section was not my favorite. I get the idea they were going for with the whole thing where people thought this would be cool because you get to see the old Robot Masters from the last game return, but stronger, which maybe would have been cool, but I just beat Mega Man 2 the day before, so this just felt like extra padding at this point. I was ready to proceed. Maybe at the time it was more about them thinking this would be the last Mega Man game, so they wanted to go out with a bang? Bigger is better? I don't know. Also, I'd like to point out that Woodman section, why was it so fucking hard? This section alone took me about an hour to beat, not even to mention he was the first boss in that stage, so even after I figured out how to beat him, I still had more of the stage to go. This is probably the best time to bring it up, but during these games, I never once used the rewind feature or save scummed. So if I died, I did the whole rigmarole of going through the stages again, should I lose all my lives. It wasn't too bad, but boy was I tempted. Anyway, just so my hard work doesn't go to waste, I'm just gonna leave this entire clip of me going through the Woodman stage just so someone can appreciate my accomplishment. Feel free to skip it if you want, but god damn it, I'm putting it here.
Okay, I still have 2 lives, so this is technically back to normal run, I guess. But I would have really liked having 3 lives. Not that it would have mattered, because if Heatman's weakness is Top Man, I don't even get that many opportunities to use Top Man. But like I said, it uses up so much energy that you really only get 1 try with that. And if I can't beat him using that, he's going to out-damage me, for sure. So far, everything's been doing 1 pip of damage. That first jump, I gotta shoot a snake. There we go. That's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. Yep. Okay, I actually could have hit him a 3rd time. But that's okay. Okay. Yeah, when you jump, you have to shoot a snake. That's what I was missing. Now I have 2 lives, but only 1 chance. to fuck it up. So for the first one, I'm going to test the waters on what ability did I not try? I didn't try Needle, and I didn't try Needle, Hard, and Gemini. I didn't try those, so I'm gonna try that. And we need to just bait the bunnies instead of actually trying to kill them before they hop. Okay, he was gonna fall. Luckily, the bunnies don't spawn back that easily. Okay, there was no bunny here. Okay, there's a bunny here. Okay. Bunny there. A life. Okay. I just gotta kill this guy over here. I don't care about the damage. Okay. Alright, so before we're just gonna try Needle for no reason. I need to just see how much damage it does, because in case I run out of top man, I need an alternative. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna spam call. Okay. Oh, I'm shooting the wrong way. Okay, this is not that bad. Oh, he didn't go all the way. He picked me out. Okay. All right, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. Okay, okay, okay. I can do this. I can do this. Okay, so we shoot Needle at him first. Hit him with the top. Okay, I got this. I got this. Oh, it's not using up that much ability. Okay. Oh, I did it. I'm free. I'm free.
Yes, it's over. Finally, I've beaten Mega Man 3. God damn it. Okay, we still have Wily's Castle. It can't be too bad though, right? Well, it can. Not only is this Wily Castle filled with bosses that are essentially just rehashes of the bosses from Wily Castle 1 and 2, but you also have to fight all the Robot Masters from this game a second time. No, not all the Robot Masters from 2, like I mentioned earlier. You have to repeat the ones from this particular entry. Usually that's part of the course, but I assume since they made me fight the ones from 2 all over again, that they wouldn't make me fight the ones from 3. I was wrong. This was enough to bump Mega Man 3 from becoming my favorite so far. It had so much going for it in the beginning, but it's just a slog at this point. The games aren't long, so it's not a big issue, but in terms of meaningful content, I just think that this latter half of the game doesn't really have much of it outside of the Robot Masters. Even the final boss was underwhelming. It was just Gutsman big, which they already did from 2. Before I finish, I just need to take a second to highlight the really good things about 3. It has the best soundtrack so far in my opinion, but the levels just keep getting better and better as these games go on. We see a lot more background set pieces, more dynamic moving pieces to the levels themselves, and just some really nice backdrops throughout. I really feel like they were trying to push the game to its limits with this one, and adding the slide was such a great idea they need to never take it out. I like it too much. But alas, thus ends my Mega Man 3 journey. You started really strong. You really did. Had it not been for the latter half, this might have gotten an A tier rating from me, but it gets a high B. It's not bad, but it is hard carried by the Robot Masters in my opinion. And take this with a grain of salt. If you were to just pick this game up, this stuff might actually seem pretty cool to you. But trying to beat one Mega Man game a day, you can really notice how much they pulled from the other ones in those final sections. But if this was your first Mega Man game you picked up, it's definitely worth it for sure. It's hard though, I'll tell you up front. Also, I totally forgot to mention that Rush gets introduced in this game. My bad, bro. It slipped my mind. Y'all say hi to Rush. Mega Man 4. This game was actually quite a treat to play through, and I was super excited for this one for one very reason: the charge shot. But let's get into the game first. This game has this badass intro when you first boot it up. Mega Man rides on this train and his hair is flowing in the wind, and we get to watch him prep up to beat ass. It's pretty awesome. This game's robot masters get real creative with their concepts this time around. There is a Pharaoh Man, a Ring Man, a Toad Man, and a Dust Man. Fun fact, Dust Man was actually a design submitted by Yusuke Murata, the artist well known for his art in iShield 21 and One Punch Man. Mega Man usually had design submissions submitted by kids, and the dev team would pick from a few of those to be implemented into the game. Just a pretty neat fact. Not much has changed gameplay wise in this entry except for... See, this is always what I remember if I play any Mega Man game. I don't know what it is, but there's this big dopamine hit I get whenever I hit an enemy with this ability. I think it's the anticipation of knowing you have this big blast waiting to do big damage to the next enemy you see on the screen. This isn't my favorite iteration of it, considering the hitbox of the blast itself doesn't really enlarge when you use it. No, that wouldn't be till 5, but it's still super fun to use. Let's go over who I should tackle first. I don't really try to figure out who would be weak to who in this game, honestly, because I have no fucking clue. But Ringman looks like he could get bullied on the schoolyard, so I started with him. And he has a wacky level where you have to fight space ring robots, big hippos, and there are these platforms that actively disappear as you step on them. It's actually really fun. And Ringman was a legitimately fun boss. It's the first time where a boss had an actual pattern I could master without exploiting a weakness. You can beat him without taking a hit. Beating him gave me the confidence to fight anyone. It's the first time I actually felt truly empowered to go anywhere. The world is my oyster. Next was Toadman, and just listen to this music. And his stage was so cool. You start out in the rain, and then eventually you wind up in the sewers, and there are these waterfalls that affect your movement, and there was a big snail, and I could go on. Mega Man 4 is the beginning of where I feel like they really mastered the design of these levels and really nailed the balance between difficulty for the player. Although Toadman was a joke. All I did was this the whole time.
I could turn green too, you big bitch. Oh, you don't like that? Jump? No? What are you doing?
You do get this ability to clear every enemy on the screen though. Also at this point, I realize I hardly ever talk about the powers in Mega Man games. And while that's usually the coolest part of beating the masters, I'm not gonna lie, I almost never use them outside of boss battles because I'm always afraid I'm gonna need it for the boss at the end. So unfortunately, I don't really have much to say about any of them. I do start to experiment more with the powers from here on though. Shout out to Pharaoh Man boss fight though. That boy got pieced up real quick with Bright Man's ability. It's just a better version of Flash Man's ability from 2. In that game, you could stop time, but that was it. Now I can stop time and shoot. Also, if you're wondering why I look like I'm struggling, it's because the ability depletes fast, and I have to try and kill him before my ability runs out, and that requires me to mash my ass off. But yeah, this is a great Mega Man game. It's got great music, great bosses, and actually awesome Wily Castle. Technically, there are 2 castles because the first one is Dr. Kozak's, but it's got cool bosses in it. Kozak's castle is really cool. You start out on ground level and it's all snowy because Dr. Kozak is Russian, I guess, and we climb this tower, and then once you get up to the top, it's all icy and you enter his castle. But sometimes you can see through the window that there's snow falling outside, and it just makes it feel all dynamic. After beating Kozak, whose boss battle is just piloting this big old crane, Wily shows up and you go through his castle. You still have to repeat bosses through the gauntlet at the end, but the difference is that I actually enjoyed the fights enough to not care. I thought the others were fine, but they only amounted to exploiting weaknesses for me, so they felt more tedious. But these were kind of like skill checks for me this time around. I ended up having fun doing this again. But the Wily boss fight at the end was pretty enjoyable, except for not knowing how to kill him. You can use your charge shot to hit his weak point, but the weak point is super hard to hit, and it wasn't consistent enough to reliably defeat the boss, so I tried resorting to other weapons, which didn't work, until I actually have to look up that you can apparently remotely detonate Drillman's ability near the core, and the AoE of the explosion would damage Wily, and he was apparently weak to it. But yeah, that's done, and then you do one last fight with Wily where he teleports around the screen, and you have to exploit his weakness in order to beat him. It wasn't too bad, although I do wish they would stop making bosses that you can only kill with abilities, because some levels you can't find items to replenish your ability, so if you run out, you have to purposefully game over. Anyway, you beat Dr. Wily, and the game's over. I will say up to this point, this might be the easiest Mega Man game that I've played so far. I think they'll honestly get easier as the NES versions go. I actually kind of like it though, not because I prefer this type of experience over a hard one, but because I feel like what was hard in the first 2 wasn't really polished up that well, since sometimes I feel like enemy placement sort of bullshit me, but that might be a skill issue, I don't know. Other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed the game. Mega Man 4 goes on the A tier. Oh, my favorite song goes to Pharaoh Man. Numero 5, Mega Man 5. What is there to say about this one aside from I love you? Not much in this entry as far as extra features go. 4 added the charge shot and this little guy I forgot to mention called Eddie? The manual says his name is Flip Top. Yeah, they introduced Eddie in the last one. In this one, Mega Man gets a new partner named Beat, which you can unlock by collecting letters throughout the stages to spell out Mega Man 5. Another addition they added to this game is the charge shot has a bigger hitbox, which is awesome, because now it feels a lot more powerful and has more advantages other than just being stronger, like being able to kill enemies close to the ground. Personally, this is when gameplay hits its highest point so far for me. Mega Man feels great to control, the bosses are all great, and the powers all seem pretty varied to me.
Wait, I can choose when it goes down? Oh, that's a lot better than I thought. Oh, look at that. I have the control over my own abilities.
The music is all standout, although I will say during stream I was kind of down on the music, but I think I may not have been hearing it well because most of what I could hear throughout the level was... Seriously though, even despite that, I don't know what I was thinking. Charge Man's stage theme is really good. I loved it afterwards when I would go back and listen to the soundtrack. This Mega Man also has some pretty great stages as well, each with interesting gimmicks, like Gravity Man stage has you go from the floor to the ceiling, or Starman stage having 0 gravity, and Wave Man stage having this awesome section where Mega Man rides a jet ski and has to fight a giant octopus. Napalm Man stage is very visually interesting as it takes you through 3 very distinct areas, the first area being a jungle, the second being this underground cave with stalactites and these drills which I didn't know you could destroy until dying more than I'd like to admit. And then Charge Man's is just where you have to ride a train throughout the whole level, and they added these nice little touches like hearing the ba-dum ba-dum of the train as it moves, and there are some sections where you're in the interior of the train, but sometimes you're on the exterior of the train and get a nice sense of speed as you watch the background just zoom by. These levels just get more and more fun as I play these games, man. It's great. We've come so far from Mega Man 1. This does come at the cost of the bosses probably feeling the easiest they ever have, but to be quite honest with you, I much prefer this where your skill can make the bosses feel more trivial than just having an ability do it for me because it does massive damage. Now, to talk about the Wily Castle, or should I say Proto Man Castle, because this game's antagonist is Proto Man, who is Mega Man's older brother. I've neglected to mention him up to this point because this isn't really a Mega Man lore video, and while he does debut in number 3, he's not really all that explained in game, so I just kind of skimmed him over. Getting back to it though, his castle wasn't incredibly difficult. It does the usual at the other castles where it combines elements from all the Robot Master stages but kind of remixes them in ways that would be suiting for a final level. It wasn't too bad until I got to another section with disappearing blocks, since Mega Man just loves these for some reason.
Wait, I can't make sense of this.
In this castle, the bosses we have to fight are Dark Man. We have Dark Man 1, who is a tank, Dark Man 2, who has a shield you have to jump over, Dark Man 3, who is a sniper, and Proto Man.
Oh, hey. Huh? Proto Man gave me this life so I could beat you. Ow. Okay, wait. Oh, Pete, kill him. Pete, get him. Help me. Oh, Pete, get him. Oh, Pete, get him. Oh, Pete, kill him. Please. Proto Man. He's gonna be so disappointed if I lose. Oh, thank you.
Of course, after we beat him, Wily shows up and we then have to go through his castle, which is standard at this point. There are some cool bosses, like the Big Pets boss where you have to shoot his body to get him to throw out sections of it so you can platform to the top and hit his head. There is also Circling Q9, who floats around the screen kind of like the DVD logo, and he has doors that open up and you have to hop on these platforms in order to kill him. This might be my favorite Wily castle up to this point, since maybe Mega Man 2? Of course, we still have the Gauntlet, which at this point I feel no need to talk about more than I already have, so I'll just skip to the final boss, who is maybe the easiest Wily fight of the game so far. The first phase sees Wily in this UFO looking thing where he'll occasionally try to smash you by landing on top of you with his machine, while you also have to be wary of these spikes that are in the middle of the map. The second phase is less creative. It's him in a big tank and he shoots bouncing balls, only for him to do the whole teleporting around the arena shenanigans he did in 4, except it's way easier because I only used the Mega Buster and managed to beat him first try. Wily escapes, the real Proto Man rescues Dr. Light and Mega Man, and the game is over. I'm aware I didn't talk about it all that much, but it's basically just Mega Man 4, but better in my opinion. And I really like that. It goes in the A tier for me. It finally feels like the games are reaching this point of perfect polish, and I love it. The only real downside for me was the powers weren't all that crazy. They could have been better, and some of them at this point felt rather repetitive, but that's nitpicking really. This was a great game, and I'm only hoping they continue to get better from here on out. Ah yes, the final game in the first Mega Man Legacy Collection and the final game on the NES. Wily has disappeared and in his place is Mr. Not Wily, I mean Mr. X, and he's hosting a tournament for people to create robots and see which of them is the best, except, oh no, the final 8 robots have been stolen by Mr. X and now we have to stop him. The Mega Man games are doing really well at giving story context in-game to let you know what's going on. It kind of helps you become more invested, although I will say they aren't all that great.
There's a tournament now, but where do the robots have to do with the tournament? Does Mega Man have to beat them all in the tournament? Look at this image of the moon.
Usually Wily is doing something evil, whether that's directly through himself or through someone else, or he's tricking you, which he's totally not doing here. What did I think of Mega Man's final epic adventure on the NES? It was good. I don't really have anything to rave about gameplay-wise, really. At this point, most of the powers I've seen before, they're just minor renditions of old powers. The levels are interesting visually, by far the best the series has seen up to this point, but they don't throw too many challenges their way that I haven't seen in games prior. As far as new game mechanics go, Rush now combines with Mega Man in this entry to create Jet Mega Man and Power Mega Man.
Oh, look at that. Power Mega Man.
Oh, I just wear this forever?
Oh,
What?
They're pretty fun to use, although I wish the Jet was more responsive as it doesn't have as much initial starting power, so if you use it for a long jump, you essentially just plummet towards the ground like you never used it.
Oh, okay. So good. No! I'm actually gonna run out of lives.
The game itself probably has one of the more interesting setups for me in a Mega Man game since it's about a tournament and each of the robot masters are based on a theme around the world, like how Yamato Man is based in Japan and Nightman is based in medieval Europe. I only wish maybe they could have sold that more through the game. Maybe as you pick a stage, you see a world map like Street Fighter showing where in the world you're going to, and maybe having some dialogue between Mega Man and the robot master somehow. But maybe that wouldn't have worked all that well, I don't know. This game was also the first one where I think I made it through each of the levels without losing all my lives. Definitely the easiest Mega Man game for me by far, which I guess seems to be a trend as 4 was easier and 5 was easier than that, and then 6 seems to be the easiest out of those. But it might just be my skill level going up, I don't know. There are some highlights as far as the levels go though, which I definitely want to talk about. This is where the levels are at their peak for me. One of my complaints about the really early Mega Man levels is that sometimes they didn't feel thematically consistent, but that's been changing as time has gone on. But now we're getting down to the nitty gritty and how even the enemies themselves are starting to just feel like they belong in these levels. Although I do question why Nightman had this bouncy room in his castle.
Okay, no. I can't. What does that have to do with knights?
There are some highlights though, like how Centaur Man's map is set in this ancient city, which I think the music really sells. There are waterfalls everywhere and you can see these Greek style columns in the background. There's also this really cool section where the water actually is above you, rising up and down, and you have to time your jumps in order to allow water to carry your jumps across these platforming sections. It really feels like you're in this ancient fantasy city. Flame Man is really cool too. His stage is inspired by the Middle East, and the gimmick surrounding it is that there are these oil pools that normally you can wade around in, but there are enemies that can actually set it ablaze. I think he might have had my favorite theme in the whole game as well. Check it out.
Ooh. Oh, listen to the beginning of this. Oh, I love this. The slow opening in the beginning.
Also, we have to talk about the designs of the bosses. We've reached the peak of NES era Mega Man Robot Master designs. They're all just so cool and distinct, and I just really love that they take their themes and run with it. Like how Nightman is literally a robot knight, and Flower Man's helmet has all these floral elements going on in it. Flame Man just literally has a turban, and Blizzard Man just has skis, bro. I think it would be cool if you could see people who invented them as well. Wouldn't that be pretty sick? Like you could see the inventors of each of the robot masters. Jumping to the end of the game, Mr. X's castle is a highlight. I really like the backdrop they have for this map, and it's got probably my favorite Wily castle. Sorry, Mr. X castle theme of the games. You have to climb up the building, and the music sells this idea that it's this climactic run-up to what may be Mega Man's greatest threat. The bosses weren't anything too crazy, but they're okay. The levels themselves weren't too crazy either aside from the first, but they're interesting and try to do something unique. Reaching Mr. X, you have to fight him in this thing. Once you beat him, he turns out to be Wily in disguise? He's like, "That's right, it was me, you bitch," and flies away, so now you have to go through his castle. What you got going on, buddy? My scheme for world domination has failed, but I still have enough power to destroy you.
Oh, it's Dr. Wily, of course. That's what oh, wow.
I think I did prefer the castle beforehand to this one, just maybe setting-wise. I think maybe they should have reversed it. This one doesn't feel as epic. It does have some pretty dumb traps for idiots like me, though.
Oh, there's an E-Tank. Oh! The floor is invisible. Why would they do that? How would I have to know that the floor was gonna be, okay.
The levels are quite varied too, which does keep it from being boring, but they don't go the extra mile in terms of presentation, so it's pretty standard for what you expect from a Wily castle at this point. Wily himself also probably felt the easiest since I don't think he even had a specific weakness that you were pretty much required to use, and he doesn't really do all that much. Pretty underwhelming from the mad scientist this time around. Anyway, we beat the game and he gets arrested, which does no good obviously since there are 5 more games afterwards, but I digress. It's done. Mega Man 6 is probably the most fun presentation-wise. It has a nice setup, and the bosses are all themed well and look cool, and the levels are passable. It's just a bit too easy for me, and I think it had potential to do even more. Also, the powers were basically never used at all in my playthrough of this game. I just found them not great. Also random lore, but apparently Plant Man has depression. But that's Mega Man 6. For me, it's gonna go in A tier before 5.
And thus concludes my journey through the NES era of Mega Man. Now to see what the SNES has in store for me.
Roll the tape. It's good we finally reached the SNES era of Mega Man because I feel like I was running out of things to say about Mega Man by the time I got to 6. First off, in this entry, we actually get in-game dialogue, which shows us with Roll and this new robot called Otto. It's quite refreshing to see dialogue play out like this. Dr. Light was injured when the robots awakened and started attacking the city looking for their master, who is, you guessed it, Wily. We've been through this spiel 7 times at this point. You know what they're about. We also get a new character called Bass, who also has a dog named Treble, and they're like the new rivals to Mega Man, like Shadow was to Sonic. This is when we get some more cool in-game lore and story stuff happening in Mega Man, albeit subtle, like who is Bass? There is an opening section, which is a first for these games, where we have to fight a giant robot that's a steamroller? Once we beat the intro stage, we get to fight the robot masters, and the first thing you notice—
4? There's 8 over there. Is that a race car, man? Dude, this guy looks mean. The Junk Man? Isn't that Junk Man? He looks like junk. These guys all look like they could kill me.
in this game, you have to beat 4 before you can fight the latter half. There are still 8 in total though. This makes it easier to tackle the masters since it limits the possibility that you may not have their weakness by the time you fight them. Although in my experience they can all be beaten using the Mega Buster just like the last few games, as the bosses still have readable movements, but they're definitely faster paced and they have more in their arsenal than past games. The backgrounds in these levels also look the best they ever have. First Man is the one I decided to tackle first, and he's in this big ginormous chemical plant that has this liquid rising up and down in order to have Mega Man use it to float to avoid spikes and things like that. First Man himself was interesting too, as you had to fight him while he shot bubbles at you that if you got caught, you would float to the top. So you had to try to pop out before you reach the top, and hitting him also caused these bombs to fall off him that would eventually... So you had to make sure to worry about those even if you were winning the fight. He got pieced up real easy though. I managed to beat him with just the Mega Buster. In fact, all the bosses I beat with just the Mega Buster. Even Slash Man, who was a little punk ass bitch. Some of these bosses get so complex in their moveset though. The most complex we've ever seen up to this point.
He is cool. He actually is him. He has actual powers. Shit. Oh, he jumped. He anticipated me. He's flicking it like he's... Should have hit me when you had the chance, bitch. No, I didn't get hit by that. No. Oh, he jumped. I was not expecting him to jump. Okay, I was starting to learn his pattern though. He does a lot of stuff.
This game also introduces stage interactions with the powers. Mega Man has kind of done this before, with some things being breakable in certain levels, but never to this extent. You can find secrets throughout the environments through using the Robot Master abilities, like charging certain machinery in Junk Man stage, or burning down the forest in Slash Man stage, which I would just like to clarify was Proto Man's idea.
I said use this in the... Why are there snakes here? Can you hold this? Oh, you can't. Oh, shit. I burned the snake.
I do not support burning down the forest. Because of this though, I actually had replayed pretty much every stage to try to find secrets, which I had never done once in a Mega Man game until this point. We also got to talk about the Robot Master designs in this game, but this is the most complex the designs have been so far. In 6, the boss designs were really trying to set themselves apart from the prior 5 entries. If you look at 6's design compared to 1's or even 2's, there was a drastic difference in their design philosophy. But 7 takes that even further in my opinion. They really weren't afraid to stray away from matching Mega Man's size this time around, and some bosses like Turbo Man kind of break the normal design philosophy of past Robot Masters by going with this sort of wider body type and not having the usual style of eyes that the Robot Masters do. I feel usually the bosses try to fit Mega Man's proportions, save for a few, and they have been getting larger and more complex since 4, but this is the first time I felt they actually stand out from Mega Man himself in terms of design. And I guess it was time for it to get to this point, considering Mega Man needed a bit of a glow up as a whole. But these bosses all look like they could fuck Mega Man up. I mean, they're like a whole him taller at this point, and they do not look like they play around. Except Spring Man, he's goofy. Wait, no, Spring Man, I'm sorry. The last thing I want to talk about is the themes of the map. They really took it a lot further in this entry, like how Slash Man stage has this set piece with a T-Rex, or how Shade Man stage starts out super dark and gets brighter once the moon comes out, and zombies even come out from the ground here. Turbo Man stage is filled with tires, and you can even hop on the back of a semi-truck that kind of reminds me of that one truck from Cars. And Spring Man stage is just one big toy box with these springs you have to bounce around on. Cloud Man stage has these sections where there are these weather robots where if you shoot them with the Mega Buster, it turns rainy. And eventually there will be a section where the platforms aren't visible until you're near them. But if you come back with or had Frostman's ability and you shoot the weather robots, you can change it to be snowy, where that same section will have visible floors instead. And it reveals another section you might not have noticed without doing this. It's pretty great. Once you beat the first 4 Robot Masters, you're taken to an intermediary level where you run into Wily at the Robot Museum, where in the background you get to see some of the old Robot Masters you fought previously, which is pretty cool.
Oh, shit. Oh, Snake Man.
And Blizzard Man. Oh, someone broke out. Feral Man? Heat Man?
Also, he kidnapped Guts Man. I guess he just really likes Guts Man because he keeps reusing him for things. The abilities you get from the Robot Masters themselves are pretty cool. Like Shade Man's ability sends out this sound wave that if you let it hit Mega Man after it bounces off a wall, you can shoot it again for a stronger shot. And Cloud Man's ability hits enemies before dispersing into 2 more shots that travel vertically in both directions. Spring Man's ability... yeah, I didn't use that much either. I'm going to be honest, I didn't use them too much, but they're cool. If there's any issue I have with some Mega Man games is that I feel like either the powers are cool or they just aren't. There isn't an in-between, at least not for me. Oh, also, there is an item shop in this game they neglected to tell me about that I didn't discover till the end of the game. Maybe it was supposed to be a secret, but I kept collecting this item I thought was currency and looked up what it was for only to discover there was an item shop. Go figure. There are so many great things added to this Mega Man game that it might be the best one up to this point for me, which leads me to an interesting fact I found out about the game after I beat it. But how did they make this in 3 months? Yeah, this game was made in 3 months and somehow it's still good? I'm not even going to try and understand how they made that possible, but these devs did it. Lastly, before I talk about the Wily Castle, which is pretty cool, I gotta briefly mention this power you can get by collecting Rush letters throughout some of the levels. If you do, you can fuse with Rush and become Super Mega Man, which not only looks badass, but also enables a double jump which is way better than the float you get from 6, and a faster charge shot that sees you shoot your fist out instead of the power shot, also like you did from Mega Man 6. Pretty badass. But yeah, Wily's Castle is cool here. There is a cool platforming section in Castle 1 where the room is dark while you're standing on the ground. You also have to fight base towards the middle of it.
You can double jump now, you bitch. Bitch. You didn't know I had Super Mega Man, did you? Ow. Ow. Oh. He's beating me. Round 1 goes to you, Mega Man, but I'll be back. Yeah, round 2 and 3 are gonna go to me, bitch.
And even get to fight a newly improved Guts Man back from when Wily stole him from the museum.
Oh, Guts Man, he's been upgraded. Ow. What is he doing? Oh, ooh.
Castle 2 as a stage is okay. The boss at the end is this turtle and it's really long and tedious. The level itself isn't really that crazy, but you do get to fight Base again. He fuses with his dog and has key energy like DBZ, which I'm not gonna lie, made him a lot cooler than Mega Man, and I wanted to play as him instead.
Base again, in the same form. You haven't upgraded yet, not like me. Oh, Rebel. Oh, you're gonna stick your dog on me too? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Why is he cooler? Why is he cooler than me?
Okay, actually I changed my mind. Wily's Castle is just alright this time around. Castle 3 has an okay section where the platforms are these bombs that move towards you after you step on them, and the boss at the end also is a bit tedious and takes a while to beat. Then of course you have the final stage, which has the dreaded boss gauntlet and maybe the hardest Wily boss in these games so far. Even with his weakness, it's a battle of attrition because his attacks are next to impossible to dodge consistently and you can never out damage him, so the only way to beat him is by using an E-tank. I think I needed 3 full health bars to beat him entirely. That was just the second phase, by the way. Apparently he was designed that way on purpose, but I'm always more in favor of bosses that you can master so well that you can just not ever get hit. An example would probably be Shade Man, who was probably the hardest to fight next to Frost Man. He had the ability to fly above you and swoop down, which had a bit of an unforgivable hitbox. And if he snatched you, you would be giving him health back. Not only that, but occasionally he would land and shoot projectiles at you that you had to slide and jump over, and the execution required was pretty tight. That fight was fun. Back to Wily though. After you beat him, Mega Man actually threatens to kill Wily and just goes, but because Mega Man is a robot, he can't harm a human. Then Mega Man walks away from his burning fortress, which is such a mood. He's like, I know for damn sure I'm gonna have to do this again, and he's pissed about it. This apparently only happens in the US version. I hear in the Japanese version, he's a lot more tame and doesn't threaten him at gunpoint. Anyway, Mega Man 7 was a step in the right direction in terms of pushing the series forward for me at this point. I enjoyed the direction they went with this one, and having Super Mega Man genuinely made the platforming so much fun. I almost wish Mega Man had these abilities permanently, but I guess then it would take away the hype of getting the power up in the first place. The presentation in the form of these little dialogue moments was neat. Even though the game was quite short compared to other entries, I don't really fault it so long as the experience was worthwhile and fun. I do personally wish I enjoyed the soundtrack more. This might be the soundtrack I revisited the least. I guess if I had to pick a favorite theme from Mega Man 7 though, it would probably be Shade Man stage. It just gave me Castlevania vibes and I like that. I'm putting 7 in A tier above 6. Mega Man 8 pushes the series even further than 7 did. It takes the idea and polishes it up to be the most detailed Mega Man game I think they have made up to this point in the series. In my opinion, obviously. In this one, the Robot Masters all have these insanely good designs. I like all of them pretty much equally. They honestly kind of feel more like they belong in the Mega Man X series a little bit. Now, I said I like all the designs equally, but I do have favorites for different reasons that have nothing to do with combat, nor how they look. But I'll get into that in a minute. Mega Man 8 was developed for the PlayStation 1, and you notice it right off the bat because there is an anime intro you get right when you boot it up that introduces you to the overarching story that this game has. This is super sick to have in a Mega Man game. I guess Mega Man X was doing the same thing at the time, so they needed to up the production value of the games to match that. It's a nice treat after having played the other 7 back to back. The animation is pretty decent too, really 90s. And just like the 90s, this anime has some pretty bad voice acting.
Oh, he lost? Or maybe they both lost.
Mega Man, today we finish this.
Hey, Bass! Why must they fight?
Bass.
We are not enemies!
Shut up.
Shut up. That's why we called him Bass when we were kids. Isn't it Bass?
This meteor seems to be emitting a powerful energy signature.
Why does Dr. Light sound like that?
Must not fall into the hands of evil.
It must not fall in the hand of evil.
Yeah, it's ass, bro. And I love it. This really brings me back to when I would watch 4Kids dubs of anime back when I was younger. I even remember this opening to the game, believe it or not. Except back then, I thought this shit was the best thing ever. These cutscenes are even sprinkled in throughout the game action, so it's a nice surprise when you get one because, you know, they never had these before. So it's a nice change of pace for the series. Remember this, because the voice acting is going to come back later. The story of this game doesn't get much deeper than what you would see in the games prior, but the cutscenes do establish a somewhat coherent narrative. The game revolves around some sort of dark energy that came from space that was being thwarted by a new character named Duo. Duo doesn't do much, to be honest with you, but he's there. Bass is there too, although he doesn't really have anything to do with the story. This game is absolutely beautiful. It's fucking colorful, the palette is a lot more complex. We get this cool intro stage where Mega Man goes through the new entrance animation akin to a magical girl transformation sequence. The robot birds are all flying through the stage as you're running through it. The enemies have such cool animations. The backgrounds are a lot more complex to the point that stuff actually starts occurring throughout it. The soundtrack is the most chill fucking soundtrack I've heard in a Mega Man game. I just wanna. Dr. Light gives you a soccer ball. Also, Mega Man talks in this game. The boss stages this time around are so much more complex as well. I have to talk about Frostman stage, which surprisingly isn't some sort of ice forest or snowy mountains. No, we chilling in the big city, dog. It's just cold. We got the night lights on in the background before we go up this elevator, and we're even higher up in the city, and it's even darker, and we get to snowboard. Grenade Man stage is cool, where we're in some sort of
bomb factory.
And everything just blows up here. We bring back these bomb platforms from prior games, and we just get this junk mini boss thing. There is so much to appreciate in terms of newness, and just the fact that the devs put this much more effort into the levels was cool. I love that Swordman stage was this sort of Indiana Jones level with traps set in a temple, and you have to use your powers to get through them in order to open these 4 doors to make it to Swordman. Searchman stage was the most bonkers with so much shit going on, man. I could not. Then you go to Aquaman stage and you just, oh, listen to this.
Ready.
Oh, he's on vacation. With music like this, he's just hanging around.
I kind of don't even want to make any sound effects, but I'm gonna. Hey, that's not a laser. Where's my laser? No way, she scammed me. Oh,
This soundtrack honestly isn't even close to my favorite in the series from what I've played so far. I prefer the more high energy catchy themes from the earlier games, but after having played 7 of these games the past week, this is exactly what I needed. And to transition off of that, the bosses in this entry weren't anything too difficult. As the games have become more fair, I think the bosses take a bit of a hit in the difficulty department, mostly if you abuse their weaknesses, but just to make it more fun, I actually preferred fighting them with the Mega Buster, except Swordman, for no particular reason other than he was the last guy I fought, so I was like, surely I have something he's weak to, right? And he was weak to water. Now, my favorite ones to fight were definitely Search Man, Grenade Man, and Astro Man. But were they my favorite bosses? Well, Searchman had to be the all-time favorite, yes, but aside from him, the other two weren't my favorite because of the fights. I wonder why. Remember when I told you that Mega Man could talk and that this game had voice acting that was terrible? Well, this is why.
Oh, he jumped into it. Oh, I got him.
He said, what?
That felt good.
Why did he think that felt good?
Hey, boy, come on.
Hey, boy. Hey, boy. Go. Ouch. Go. Ouch. Go. Ouch. Okay. Hey, boy. Homing sniper. I'm not taking him seriously at all. I'll crush you. I'll make a popsicle of you. Lol.
I'm Aquaman, but you can call me handsome guy.
What is Clown Man weak to? Bombs, maybe?
I'll make you join my man.
I'll make you join my man. That's what he said?
Yes, the bosses talk, and they sound goofy as hell, man. I could not help but shout out every single line they spouted at me because of how silly it was. I was just having a blast laughing at all the lines. Adding bad voice acting to Mega Man was the best idea they ever had, and unfortunately, I think it only gets better from there. I might be the only person on the planet to actually say that, but whatever, it's great. Now, the boss weapons are pretty cool in that you can interact with them, but honestly at this point it's pretty par for the course in Mega Man, since I think you could do the things these weapons enable you to do since 5 or maybe 6, and the upgrades aren't really all that great. The only two I really used were the Mega Arrow and the Faster Charge Shot, which were both busted. It's this area where maybe I could have used some more exploration, maybe some better upgrades, more paths to explore, but it's a quick little game that I actually appreciate because I think I reached the point in my gauntlet that if these games were getting longer and longer, I would have burned out, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, I don't necessarily have to say too much about this entry at this point because the Wily Castle is okay. The only notable standout for me was the first level, which is basically just this long ass snowboarding section that I remember being super stressful as a child, but was a lot easier this time around for me.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Jump, 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 jump.
Ow. Oh.
Slide, 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 jump, jump.
Oh, this is like a secret sneaking mission where we're breaking into Wily's castle. There's enemies behind me.
Jump, 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 jump.
Ah! Oh, it breaks apart.
Jump, 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 jump.
My eyes.
Jump, 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 jump.
Ah!
I still stressed out a bit though. There were some interesting bosses like this one that could only be beaten using the soccer ball, which I was surprised actually managed to find some use. There is a boss where you go through this air section and you have to fight a big plane. Yellow Devil returns, albeit a bit less interesting. The first Yellow Devil wasn't that complex, but the pace at which he dematerialized made the fight fast-paced and fun, whereas this one mostly stands there and occasionally does stuff. He looks cool though. Face also comes back and uses the dark energy to fuse with Treble to power himself up, so that's pretty cool. And then the fucking gauntlet, and then Wily. Par for the course. Now, I know I kind of spent the whole time glazing this game, but it doesn't rank the highest. I think it goes below 7 and 5 for me, but above the rest in A tier. It's a great game to me, and I thought it pushed the series forward in a good way, visually, and just presentation-wise. Oh, and favorite theme will probably go to, I guess, Wily Castle 1 or Frostman? I didn't really have a favorite theme this time around, but either of those will do. Speaking of pushing the series forward visually, now we must step back into the NES era of Mega Man. But Evan, isn't this Mega Man 9? How did we go from this to this? Well, my one viewer watching this video, that is totally not me clicking this video myself to get the viewer numbers up. After Mega Man 8, we actually didn't see another mainline Mega Man entry for, holy shit, 12 years? Yeah, Mega Man 8 released in 1996, and we wouldn't see another mainline Mega Man game until 2008. I'm assuming we didn't see another game that went through the lengths of pushing the visuals even further because, really, how do you do that after 12 years when you aren't even sure classic Mega Man even sells as well as it did before? It was released on the Wii Shop channel as a WiiWare release, which were basically where you dropped exclusively indie titles on the Wii. So maybe they thought they could test the waters here by making a Mega Man that I would assume was rather cheap to create, compared to the ever-growing cost of making games was getting at the time. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this game. So I went in thinking, will I like this entry as much as the rest? I think I was scared that after it had been a while, they wouldn't know how to recapture that classic Mega Man magic. And without spoiling much, boy did the Inti Creates team put their best foot forward, because this game is absolutely amazing. I bet you weren't expecting that, seeing as how we essentially moved backwards technology-wise, but this game is fucking sick. First off, the Mega Man games have not really been that hard up to this point. There are moments when I have pain points with the series in some entries, but this one is tough. It's difficult in a great way though, because it enables you to get better and better as you go through the levels, but in a more balanced and fair way by each level having its own obstacles you have to learn and adapt to either on the fly or by dying over and over like I did on some of them.
Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it.
Mega Man has always leaned into this design philosophy, but I think that this entry does it the best out of all of them, to be honest. The levels are fun and slowly get more difficult as you progress. When you understand it, you start to feel like a platforming master and that Mega Man is this badass that no one can stop. At this point, I've stopped trying to figure out who is weak to what because I'm just too eager to start playing, and I go with Plug Man first, and okay, so then I went with Jewel Man and okay, this is going to take some getting used to. Jewel Man stage is fun though. You have to swing along these platforms while trying to avoid these spikes with some tight precision platforming. Nothing I couldn't handle.
No, what is this? Damn it, I barely touched it.
What? There is also this cool mini boss that is a boulder with a face. This is going to happen a lot, is what I would say if I wasn't a good gamer who could figure out any boss.
Okay. Oh. I got him. He's dead.
Concrete Man was up next. This level is nothing to really write home about, but there is this interesting section where you have to fight these elephants that progressively get harder as you go through. Pretty neat. There are also these platforms that are styled differently than the rest of the map. You have to pay attention to avoid falling through. Concrete Man stage was probably the easiest of them all. The fight itself is like a way more fun Guts Man fight. He makes earthquakes, shoots concrete that can freeze you, and dashes around like a football player. But we beat him. His power is actually pretty cool. You can shoot out concrete that can solidify upon hitting a surface, which can create a platform. Next was Hornet Man, and his stage was a nice little garden of torture. You have to go through and avoid these scissors that if you allow them to fuse together will become whole and come back and attack you for more damage. The Jewel Man ability was great for this stage since you can just let this rip and it automatically destroys the scissors if they touch it. There is also a gimmick where if you shoot these platforms to unfurl them, which enables you to proceed, but if you don't jump off them in time, they curl back up and cause you to, oh, you can't stand on that. Hornet Man goes just as you suspect. But the thing is, even with all this failure, it only drives me more to want to succeed.
Shit! Shit! I almost had it.
It's weird, but this is the first Mega Man game where I'm on the edge of my seat with each boss fight. Up to this point, I've seen the bosses get more and more fair, but at the cost of them feeling rather easy. This time around, I think they're fair and difficult, which is super great in my opinion.
Oh, I got him. I did not think I was going to be able to do that. It's interesting, Tornado Man, to be honest with you,
Tornado Man
but
stage. This stage has a gimmick where you... Yeah, you do that. You also go through different weather conditions like the rain that affects the movement of your jumps and ice that affects the momentum of your run. It's cool they fit these archetypes into one stage this time around instead of separating it into two. I could go on and on about the individual levels, but then this might just turn into a video about how great Mega Man 9 is.
this might be the best Mega Man game I've played.
Lastly though, let me shout out Splash Woman. She's just adorable. Got these little eyelashes in her little portrait. She's the first time there has been a female robot master, unfortunately. Also, she sings. I don't know, I like her. Let me briefly mention two things though before we just jump straight to Wily's Castle. This Mega Man has the best soundtrack of all of them that I've played so far. You can fight me on that if you want, but I stand by that. Each track was so catchy and I was singing to the tune of each of them in every level that I played. My favorite of the Robot Masters had to be a toss-up between Tornado Man's theme or Concrete Man's theme. This game's abilities were like all so great. The dual shield would block things while still being active. The Trident ability would pierce through enemies with a shield. My favorite ability was the Hornet that you could shoot that would not only destroy enemies, but also grab items for you. I think this was the only Mega Man game that I pretty much used every power within my arsenal from what I remember. Anyway, Wily's Castle was great too. It was full of some great platforming sections, chock full of things you'd expect like spikes and all that jazz. It was also really nice to have the level be designed around you having to utilize the Robot Master's powers you acquired. Also, shout out to this section in Wily Castle 3 where you have to use Mega Man's Mega Buster in order to push yourself to avoid enemies and obstacles. It was actually a really fun and interesting section.
Ooh, I almost got hit.
Aside from the trouble I had with the final boss, which was a lot,
Okay.
and the other 95% of the game where I was also dying.
No. I have to restart it.
Yeah, no, this was the toughest Mega Man game by far, but in a good way in my opinion. I was really eager for them to finally polish the difficulty in Mega Man to the point where you really have to master the individual levels in order to reliably make your way through the game. Oh, by the way, shout out to Mega Man showing Wily all the times he's tried to apologize when Mega Man beats him. This is where you first went wrong. Then this time, he's going through all of it. And this time, and this time, and this time, and this time, and this, okay, and this time, and this time, and this time. he's like, there have been 9 games. Only for Mega Man to get tricked once again. Not only that, but Proto Man shows up and it's like, wait, it's a trap, stupid. And Mega Man is like, I don't care. Proto Man is like, okay, and then leaves. Proto Man, don't leave, shoot him. Proto Man, why did Proto Man leave? If he knew it was a fake, he's like, fine, die then. They're brothers, mind you, they're brothers. That took away any euphoria I felt about winning. Mega Man fell for a stupid trap. It was so obviously a trap. Dr. Light can kiss my ass. We need to get rid of Wily because now there's going to be so many more instances where he's going to just hurt people. I think sacrificing Dr. Light would have been worth it. Come on, Proto Man. You couldn't help the boy out when you showed up the first time. Maybe he was just trying to have his brother learn his lesson, but y'all got to brain up. And that's Mega Man 9. My favorite by far. This one goes in S tier for sure. Hopefully it only gets better from here on out. Now Mega Man 10 I was interested in because it follows up 9 and I really liked 9. The only unfortunate part is that I had mostly come to the conclusion that that was where it was going to peak on this gauntlet. And was I right? Well, just to get it out of the way, Yes, don't get me wrong, 10 is great, but it unfortunately is just coming off the back of 9 for me, and it just doesn't do some of the things as well. I will say this is probably my favorite roster of Robot Masters for classic Mega Man, but it's a strong contest between this one and maybe 6, because if I didn't mention it before, the roster in that one was great. 10 has some great ones like Blade Man, Sheep Man, which I didn't think about while I was playing, but is clearly a reference to Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, which inspired Blade Runner if you didn't know, Strike Man, and Nitro Man. I just think some of them are so unserious, but in a great way design-wise, and they were full of expression in their boss fights. There are some things that this game does do well, dare I say better, than 9. This one just lets you play as Proto Man from the jump, which I decided to do at first until I realized he took double damage from Mega Man. It's still really cool though, and I could see myself going back to play as him for a harder experience more in line with 9, since I did find this game easier than 9. Just for clarification, you could play as Proto Man in 9, but only after you beat it, so it was nice that they let you play as Proto Man before you had to beat it in 10. Speaking of easy, this game also has an easy mode. That's pretty cool because even though I don't find them challenging, it'd be fun to have someone try 10 for the first time if they want to jump into any classic Mega Man games and see what they're like. You even unlock Bass at the end, and he's pretty neat. He has an omnidirectional shot and can dash and dash jump for better momentum. He can't shoot and walk though, unlike Mega Man.
Classic Mega Man. Yo, I can shoot everywhere. Look at that. That's crazy. Slide. Wait. Oh, I have a slide. Oh, and it has momentum.
I think he might be the way I try to play the new hardcore mode you unlock at the end should I go back. Before I get into the levels, I have to tell you that this might be one of the silliest Mega Man stories I've ever seen in the games. I don't really talk about the stories all that much because for me, the stories don't really do all that much. I personally like knowing the little bits they do tell me as I play, but it's not a priority for me to get y'all to like the narratives. Anyway, the story for this one is the robots are catching a disease called Robo-Enza.
What? Robots get sick? Is it contagious?
Yeah, you heard that right. So there are some pretty interesting levels as well. The themes for some of them are probably up there with my favorite levels. There is so much fun being had in each of them by the designers, I almost wish I could have sat at the table with them while they were thinking them up. Strike Man stage is just a baseball field where sports themed things attack you like this big robot that's a goalie. These lockers opening up to shoot at you, and the soccer ball obstacles that you have to shoot to proceed. Nitro Man's is, you guessed it, full of car themed things. The one cool part I thought to shout out is this part where you have to, Blade Man's stage, itch. Pump Man's was this level where you were going through the dark sewers.
Oh! Yes. Ow. Ow. Wait. The spider away from me. Bro. Oh.
And Sheep Man stage was like a circuit board type of level where these mouse cursors would use the select tool to create objects to throw at you. Not to come off the praise with something negative, but I have to mention that the weapons in this one are just not too great. Some have their uses, but I wound up not using a majority of them for maybe 80% of the time aside for weaknesses maybe. My least favorite was Commando Man's ability because while it was strong, most of the damage came from you hitting the ground with it, not hitting someone directly, and it used up so much energy. My favorite had to be Blade Man's though, which just did a lot of damage if you could get all 3 knives to hit, and it used up barely any energy. The rest have their uses like Pump Man's water shield guarding you from the fire and Solar Man's stage, and Strike Man's ability being able to bounce off walls, so it was pretty decent at clearing enemies, sometimes. But back to the positives, I thought Wily's castle was kind of fun. The first part is really moody with rain coming down as you enter the castle while avoiding enemies, and there are 3 bosses you have to fight, which are like these machines that clone the movesets and movement patterns of Robot Masters from each prior Mega Man game before 10. Each boss has the abilities of 3 Robot Masters, and as you lower their health, one section of the boss will die. This was a nice throwback. I was especially excited to see they brought Frostman's ability back, and it was fun to see him in the NES-style Mega Man. The first stage is honestly my favorite part. The third Wily Castle stage is more like a harder, remixed version of a lot of the other Robot Master stages, except for this part with the elevator, which is definitely them just apologizing to me for what they did to me in Mega Man 9. You are not forgiven. Anyway, there isn't too much I want to talk about with the Wily stages, nor his boss fight. It was pretty cool he shot big ass missiles at me for the first boss, but what was even cooler was a section where after you beat him, you then do this.
It's not over. There's one more. They did it again. They added another skull. Look at that. Oh shit.
Holy shit.
Then we get another Wily fight where he teleports around the map and shoots things, which is pretty par for the course at this point.
Ow. God damn. God damn. Don't choke. I can't possibly choke with all this stuff. Knock on wood. God damn. Ah. Wiley, you son of a bitch. Booyah.
Not to undermine it because it's a cool fight, it's just I've played like 9 of these games in a little over a week at this point, and I'm tired of him doing this. Once it's over, Wily gets sick with Roboenza. I'm not sure how he caught it, and Mega Man, being the angel he is, agrees to cure Wily, even though I believe he should just blast him. Anyway, Wily is cured, he escapes, leaves behind Robo Medicine, and we win?
No, no, no. No. Kill him. Oh no, Dr. Wily's gone missing. Yes, of course he has, you bastards. God damn it. Again? I need this man to repent for his sins. That wasn't satisfying enough. You should have let that man die in the vacuum of space. Damn it, now I have the Roboenza. God damn it. I can't believe it. Let that man go again. I can't believe it.
I strongly believe Albert's research must stop.
Light! We can't build the future on your empty optimism.
Say what you will, I cannot agree to this. Please listen.
No, you listen to this! At every turn, you've ignorantly blocked my research!
Mr. Wily, control yourself. I see the committee is in agreement. And so, the department chooses Thomas Light's research into robots with independent thought. Thank you, everyone.
Why are you fools so blind? One day, Light. One day the world will know I was right all along. Bad memories make the worst dreams. A genius of my caliber needs sleep to keep his brain in gear. Wait. That research from my youth. Yes. Now I'll show you, Light.
Well, 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 would you look at that? Mega Man finally decided to grow up. Again. Yeah, this one I think is the first time we see a mainline Mega Man game go full 3D. The only other one I can think of that exists was the remake of one they made back on the PSP called Mega Man Powered Up. Y'all remember that game? Ugh, making levels for my brothers and I to play at the time was always so much fun. Anyway, we aren't here to discuss that game. We're here to talk about how good I am at Mega Man 11. And I just totally aced every level without dying.
Oh, I died.
I said I aced every single level without dying. Okay, someone is faking that footage. It's act.
Oh.
Okay, that's my footage. But it was only because I played on the hardest difficulty. So I turned it down and then I proceeded to go through every level without. So Mega Man 11 is the first mainline entry in 3D. And with that, I think also comes the first game to push the series forward a bit gameplay wise. This one features a mechanic called the double gear system. Mega Man can use the speed gear in order to slow down time to make dealing with some enemies or platforming sections easier. And then he can use the power gear in order to power up his moves. For example, the Buster Shot shoots 2 charge shots instead of 1. Blockman's ability will drop a ton of bricks instead of 4, and Blastman's bomb just go Unga size and make a big explosion. I was back and forth with the game because of this system. At first, I really didn't understand why I wasn't having fun with the game. Adding 2 extra buttons to Mega Man was something I wasn't used to after having played 10 prior ones without it, so I was forgetting what button was what.
Why don't I just slow down time? I'm so fucking stupid. I'm not used to being able to do this.
Trying to remember what each of my abilities could also be enhanced temporarily if I used the gear system was too much for my simple Mega Man brain. I was pretty stubborn about it, thinking why use speed gear when I'm just fine at normal speed, and why use power when I can handle the bosses myself? And I don't know why I ever said that, because this system can enable you to become pretty busted. Using speed gear at certain sections make some enemies rather trivial, and the power gear can make quick work of some of the bosses. Mastering the timing of these abilities and knowing when to use what where can really make it so you can fly through these levels. Speaking of levels, the Robot Masters levels in this entry are actually pretty fun. They each have fun little gimmicks, and they're probably the longest I think the series has had, or maybe they just felt long because the checkpoints are kind of unforgiving on normal difficulty. Not too bad, but they send you back pretty far sometimes, so the levels could feel long because of that reason. But yeah, the level designs are cool. Blockman has this factory level where blocks fall from the sky and you have to platform without having them fall on you. Impact Man has a section where he actually attacks you as you're going through the level, which was sick. Acid Man's level has you try to get through these pools of chemicals before these enemies can make them toxic. My favorite levels were actually Torch Man and Blast Man's. Torch Man was a campsite and probably had my favorite backgrounds of the game. I love this small section where you can see all the metal in the background around a campfire. There are also sections where these owls that are lanterns will keep the place lit, and if you destroy them, well, good luck. Blast Man's is actually a theme park that's been decimated, and there are so many attraction themed sections, like this mini boss here, or how these enemies are little costumed villains. They're pretty cute. Blast Man himself must be the mascot of the theme park because his face is plastered everywhere. His whole concept is that enemies can blow up these cubes and they'll trigger chain reactions. My least favorite level was Bounce Man, only because the whole level is pretty much bouncing and I wasn't too big of a fan. The boss fights were actually quite complex as well. They each get the double gear system, so some bosses, like Blockman, will use power gear. Blockman turns into a gigantic version of himself when he does it. Or you get bosses like Fuse Man, who will use it in order to speed themselves up, but you can negate this effect by using your own speed gear power up if you want, or you can slide through to dodge this ability. They really were flexible with how you can use the double gear system, which I think works for and against it. On the one hand, it makes it easier for newer players to engage with the game, but on the other hand, if you just prefer not to, you can. But then it feels like you're missing out on the central mechanic of the game, even though it never really feels like it. Just a thought I had. The soundtrack for this game was decent. I'm not really a fan of the synth-focused soundtrack they used for this game. It was just a little too simplistic for my taste, but I do think the tracks they did create fit the intensity and vibe of each level though. They even have more piano versions of each place should you want a more instrumental jazzy vibe. I could give or take either though. Oh hey, they talk in this game as well.
Behold, Impact Man!
That's it. The voice acting works in my opinion, and that's all I have to say. It doesn't come nearly as close to how great Mega Man 8's voice acting was though.
Hey, Zap! Why must I fight you? We are not enemies!
Shut up!
Must not fall into the hands of evil.
We must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
But where is Dr. Wily?
That's a good question. We may be able to locate another energy emission from the radar room. When we find that meteor, we'll find Dr. Wily.
Am I alive?
Yes, you are.
No need to thank me for exposing you to that wonderful performance again. Back to Mega Man 11. Wily's castle was nothing too crazy. They do a good job of making you utilize every ability and tactic you learn throughout the game up to this point. I thought the bosses were fine. Yellow Devil is back with some tricks, but aside from him, there wasn't anything too exciting. I did use this opportunity during the boss rush section to try to beat every boss with a Mega Buster, but Torchman was throwing hands and whooping my ass.
Torch Jutsu! Oh. Ow! Wait! I'm trying!
He's playing fighting games. What is this? Ow. What is this? What is this?
Oh.
I'm alive.
Okay, screw you, man. I'm killing him. I'm not doing it.
The Wily boss fight was hella chaotic. I did not bother trying to figure out what the hell was going on in the slightest. I powered through it with my stock up of E-tanks. Anyway, there is a second boss fight. We beat him the same way, and Mega Man kills Wily, and there isn't ever gonna be a Mega Man 12. Okay, that's not true. Wily is alive and there's gonna be a Mega Man 12, but we really need to put a stop to Wily at this point. Like, how has he been around for so long? Also, for some reason at the end, Dr. Light shows up in the final section and I'm just like, dog, it ain't safe for you to be here. Why are you here, bro? How did you get here?
My, will you never learn from your mistakes?
How'd he make it in here?
Light.
How did he follow me all the way in here? There's robots shooting up the place. This reminds me that I never even mentioned the story of this game, but the most notable part I feel the need to mention is that Light and Wily were actually colleagues once upon a time, and Wily was even the one who came up with the double gear system that you use throughout the game. Unfortunately, he can't see how successful it was if Mega Man uses it, so he just pouts about it and up and leaves. And that's Mega Man 11. It was actually quite a fun game. I struggle to say it was my favorite, but I think out of all of them, I want to go back to this one and try to master the abilities and the gear system through the challenge mode and everything like that. I only wish I could play as Proto Man and Bass in this one. That would be so sick. But alas, there's also superhero difficulty that wasn't that hard for me. Okay, this is the most I felt motivated to go back and play a Mega Man game up to this point, especially with this one having a platinum trophy and everything like that. I think I'm putting Mega Man 11 up an A tier above 7 and 5, just for really pushing the series in what I think is a positive direction and actually being able to stick to the series roots as best it could, despite it being so stylistically different visually and coming out after an 8-year gap of Mega Man games. Good job, Capcom. Holy shit, that was a lot of Mega Man games. I actually didn't expect to get through them as fast as I did, but I did, and honestly, I enjoyed my time with them a lot more than I thought I would. I hope my tier list doesn't offend too many of the hardcore Mega Man fans out there, but I think they're all great games that no matter where they placed here, they're all worth playing for me. It was fun to go through the journey of seeing how the series evolved through the years and getting excited as I went through each entry. Next time I do this, I think I'll wind up going through the Mega Man X games next. Hopefully, those are just as good. Now it's time to play the next Mega Man game. I'll be playing this once it drops now that I'm all prepared, and I'm quite excited to see the direction it takes the series. If you made it all the way through, I appreciate you and hope that you enjoyed me talking about your favorite Mega Man game. I hope I wasn't too negative on any of the entries. I hope I talked about it enough. I probably could have talked about it more, but I tried to be positive about all of them because I genuinely enjoyed them all. I had a great time. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Bye-bye.